Welcome to Pagan Crafting. Today we're going to make a book of spells, a little decapouge from our book of shadow series that I'm working on. This is one of many books that'll be in this series. This is a faux leather finish, and I'm going to be showing you how to use this finish for your beautiful books and decorations. Join me today with Pagan Crafting and let's have some fun. So what we're going to be using today is a couple of hardcover books. Now I've skipped a step here on how to lay down these glue finishes. If you look up to the right here, there's a link to the first book I made, the sigil book, and that'll show you how to lay down the glue and also the tissue paper and the steps to do with that. So that'll give you these ridge marks, these ornate marks that I've done. I've done two different types here. The bottom one is the sigil book. This is the spell book. I've wrapped the book all the way around. And again, the other video will show you how to. We're going to do the painting finish today. So starting off with covering a single coat, usually would use a darker color first and work up to your lighter colors. But in this case, I really want the red to pop and I really would love a full leather worked finish. So we're starting off with a bright red. It is also like a fire engine red color. Working the color all the way around the book. This one you really want to do a very, very, very thick coat. It'll dry pretty fast because it is crafter's acrylic paint, so not to worry. But you really want to get it in all those little ridges and all those little marks and lines and everything. You don't want the previous color of the book poking through. Now we're going to do some dry brushing here to get some cool techniques. I've mixed up a burgundy color using the side of my brush. The brush paint is not very saturated on the brush and just doing a slight, oops, I put a little much on, doesn't matter, it wipes away pretty quick and you can roll over it again. But you just want to really go slow here and bring out all the lines and the bumps and lumps and all the cool stuff that the tissue paper leaves behind. You could use the side of your brush in a single motion, or you could also use a circular motion too to lay down, but you gotta be really careful with that. Working the paint slowly, just a little bit of dry brushing here and there. And I start filling it in here. And it's really bringing it out, loving it. You just want to go by a few layers, take your time, see what looks best. Sometimes you go over it back a little bit here and there. Now that I've laid down one coat, I'm going back into a second layer with a little bit of darker burgundy this time. I added more royal purple to it, to the red. This technique is all about layers and layers and layers. So don't get frustrated easy if this technique doesn't pop out, because you just, as you can see, my brush strokes is really taking your time. So remember, we're starting off with the lightest color first and finishing off with the darkest color. In my previous book, with the Book of Sigils, I started with a base coat of a lavender, but then I went with the richer purples, the royal purples and royal blues, and then I build up. The last coat was baby blues and lavenders on top of that. And you can see all the ridges and all the cool things that the tissue paper leaves behind, and it just popped. Finished it off with a gold finish on the ornate little pieces. It looked amazing. I was so happy with it when it was done. I look forward to using that book all the time. Now taking the darker color again, just very, very carefully with the side of the brush. So it just picks up the ornate bits and the lettering that I have on the book. Again, still using the dry brush method. If you get a little bit too much on, you could use a paper towel or your finger to take that off quick. Paper towel is best. Then you can roll back on, but make sure everything dries really well between your layers. Sometimes it's just half an hour time between the two. Then you can hit it again. This is a few-day project, I have found. When I was first watching some how-to videos on YouTube, it was like, yay, the magic of YouTube land. They're like, okay, it's dry, and now we go the next step. I'm like, wow, they didn't tell me that step took a week to dry if you overdo it, which I do. So I've learned by the second book I did was little layers, small layers, dry layers, take your time layers. Oh, doing some dry brushing over here too on the pentacle. Just letting the brush just kiss over top of the star, just a little bit, just picking up those lines so it looks like leather has been stretched out over something. And don't forget the little bit of corners, each of the corners of the star, and that's going to give it some shadowing effect. So it doesn't look so dull. A little bit of marks here in each of the corners just helps bring out the shadowing. And then I'm going for a darker, a little bit darker again. So I'm mixing the bright red in with a gorgeous royal purple, which makes our burgundy. The more purple you add, the darker it'll become. And it dries to a beautiful ox blood red. I use the back of my hand as my palette all the time. It's just easier and I like the effects that it gives me. Doing another dry brush effect here. A third layer. I really wanted the ornate bits to pop out more than I had previously done, so I'm going to do one more layer. Wiping off any excess paint on the back of my palette, my hand, and to keep the brush dry. I don't like cleaning off the brush with water between uses. I use just a paper towel and it keeps the brush really dry and it's easier for the dry brushing so you don't get any oops if it saturates too much. And another layer of the darker around the star, I think really helps pop it out. This one's not, I'm not dry brushing this part on, I'm really saturating it and dry brushing the star though. Look how that's popping out now. Oh, so stoked. This book looks such a beautiful bound leather book already. And any final touches up here and there you'd like to do. Now after it's all dried, we're going to use some Mod Podge. I chose gloss because I like all things glossy and shiny and sparkly. But you can choose to keep this a dry, flat look. If you want to go with the flat look, then you would use the Mod Podge with the yellow label on it, and that'll dry a flat finish without a high gloss. You could always use a clear gloss, high gloss spray paint finish as well. Those comes in a satin as well as a flat clear finish too. And that could be super quick, and you can spray that on top of here too. Now, one thing I did find, I have to tell you, you do have to put a generous amount of the glue down. And my first book, I put on, first and second book, I put the same amount on. But for some reason, I went a little bit faster, maybe, with the red book. And I created some bubbles and whatnot, and it stayed too thick and it stayed white. It took 2 weeks to dry versus the other book only took 2 to 4 days to dry. So I wound up getting impatient, going back, touching up some red, doing layers again, and then rocking in the clear gloss finish. So do a little bit of fine layers of the high gloss finish and then build it up. Thank you so very much today for chilling out with me. I hope you enjoyed this little book we made here together, and we're gonna have so much more in our series. So ring that bell, subscribe, join me on our next video that we put out, and let's have some more fun together. Have yourself a magical day, and thank you again for hanging out with me.